Let's share the YouTube link. One sec.
I have the wrong name for some reason. I'll try to change it.
Sorry, what did you say?
Nothing important. I just have the wrong name.
Okay, here we are. Let's share it on the Telegram. Okay. 30 seconds. Then we can start. Hey, Paul.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. How's it going?
Shall we start?
Definitely. So, Martin, do you want to start?
Sure. So, yesterday I wanted to spend more time on the roadmap. I've been thinking some stuff, but yeah, I haven't done a lot of progress on that. I also got distracted by doing some refactors and cleanups in the code. But yeah, the idea is to go back to full roadmap today. I saw you had some progress there on the Gantt specifically. So yeah, that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Look at that, and maybe we can work together, or can help in any way. That's it for me.
Sounds good. Tomas, do you want to continue?
Sure. Yesterday I added this this tracks for the already implemented types for SSSeed, and also added some. And after that, added some new types and how to change some things about how about all the macros and all that to because one of the types had another container inside. I think it was checkpoint. Like checkpoint was the nested container, and modify the Rustler derive we use from nif map to nif struct. So now SSC already returns the structs uh, instead of maps. Uh,
Sounds cool.
I think
Are you?
both PRs are already merged. Now I was working on adding more types. Something I didn't consider was that some of the types have generics. They receive the spec constants by from generic. I think I'll just like
Are you
for
thinking
now
about
we
parameters?
can. Sorry, what?
Are you thinking about vectors, like vectors with lengths or stuff like that?
Yeah. Um, Specifically for this case, it's the max amount of validators in a committee, I think. Yeah, so what I was gonna do was just hard code it to the mainnet spec, and later we can look for another way or.
Yeah, exactly. I'd go for that. Although we might consider adding those in the config, in the Elixir config, just so
Yeah.
that the hard-coded code is in a reachable place that we can easily modify, and then
The thing with
eventually.
that is, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
since Rust uses like generics are for compile time, you can't dynamically change them. And so the
All right.
problem is that we will need to somehow fix that. Like we can just instance one of each with each generic and dynamically choose between them. But we can later look how we fix that.
Yeah. I fully agree that let's go with hard coding first, and let's see what solutions we come up with. That's a great point.
That's all.
Perfect. Paul, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. So during the last days, I've been mostly focusing still on the engine API and on understanding better the consensus specs. Yesterday, I've been speaking a little bit with Martin, and I was telling him that I felt a little bit stuck about like the consensus specs because I needed to get a better understanding of the global architecture of a consensus client to be able to implement more of the methods. Because if you look at, yeah, we've talking a little bit about it already, but the specs are a little bit dry about how to implement the engine methods, and then also like how do you call them, when do you call them, and why do you call them, as we discussed a little bit. And so I've discussed a little bit with Mikhail, and basically what he sent me is a few diagrams and a few posts that especially focus on three methods of the engine API, which are engine new payload, engine get payload, and engine fork choice update. And so it got me a little bit curious because there's about like 9 different methods. And then I went to check in the different client implementations, and I saw that most clients were mostly focusing on these three methods. So here I'm kind of understanding that, um, as we understand, the consensus layer is the driver of the execution layer. So the execution layer is never communicating with the consensus layer except giving responses to the calls. And so basically what's happening is that the three methods that mainly drive and that we mainly use as a consensus layer are those three. To be able to send new payloads to the execution layer, to significate a new fork choice, and to update the fork choice, and to say that, yeah, we chose this fork, and then also to get new payloads when we become the block proposer. So we request a payload from the execution layer. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And so sorry, what I've discussed with Martin is that what would be good is for me to finalize my readings of the E2 book for choice chapters, to be able to have a more holistic view, and then be more able to start implementing these methods. So that's right now what I'm doing, and yeah, going pretty well. It's really interesting, and I really like doing some research and learning like that. It's pretty cool. So I'll try to continue doing that if that's aligned with the global plan that you're building, Thomas, Martin, and
Yeah, definitely, and that's a very good series of a very good set of information that you got from the mentors. Like that's one of the things that I was gonna say. One of the things that we found with Martin when we were building the roadmap is that some of the most useful endpoints are for fork choice, that which is one of the areas you mentioned, and especially like retrieving blocks, execution payloads, validating blocks and that kind of stuff. So like definitely if you found like the key points where they are used, and those let you understand more how they are used and the arguments that you need to add and how to parse them into maps for the requests, that's perfectly fine for us. And it might look like spending your time, but it's investing your time, so like your progress will be faster in the future, because you made all of this research, so it's perfectly fine. So yeah, really glad that you got that info. It's very valuable one, and I'm so glad that you spoke with mentors as well. That's probably been very helpful. um Do you have any other updates?
No, I don't have other updates. I'll continue doing that, and also I'll share the links that the mentor sent me in the Telegram in the next few minutes, so everybody can try to look through them. As I said, there's a few, especially like engine API related documents that are not like the annotated specs or the consensus specs, and then other things that are um, clients that were already tried to be built in Elixir during the last years. So yeah, there's some pretty big code bases, Elixir code bases related to Ethereum that have already been built, and I think it's pretty interesting to look through them or to try to contact the people that have worked a little bit on these code bases or ask for advice or things like that. Yeah, so I'll send that in the group in the next minutes.
Awesome. Thanks for that as well. So I'll go next. My progress was mostly on the Gantt for the roadmap. I basically dumped everything that we were writing with Martin a couple of days ago, and I've been adding the dependencies in the Gantt, and now I'm in the process of estimating, like doing some very, very, very broad estimations of things, so that we have like a very wide idea of when we will have certain things, and eventually trying to get some like release plan for, okay, we want to have this MVP for the next 2 months or something like that. It's just so that we know on like what's the critical path, what's the features that we need to tackle first, and also what are the different areas that like many people can manage at the same time, so that when someone finishes a task, we can say, okay, we have these available ones, and these are the more prioritary ones. I really need to get that finished today at some point, but I'm somehow like in probably at 70% of progress, so should be able to. And like Martina, I probably call you later so that we can do some of that together, because you got some more experience than me in some of those issues, so we can do some of that together as well. Um, so yeah, does anyone have any questions or comments to finish the meeting?
Yeah, I just wanted to see how we were preparing for uh, the proposal for the APF, because we also need to prepare like the roadmap. But I think the roadmap is like, let's say 70% of the proposal is the roadmap. I think so. Definitely when you'll be ready with that, and if you need help, I'm glad to help also. But we'll definitely have a big part of our proposal ready. But after, we just need to like put it in shape and make something that looks coherent. And it's coming pretty quick because it's coming on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So what's your views on that?
No, yeah, preferably agree. I need to finish this today, and then on Monday we can just do the presentation together, and then on Tuesday we just go with it, because this is the time. I'm not sure if we already wrote our team's name on the proposals for next week. If we don't, we need to do that, so that we have a spot saved for us on Tuesday. But yeah, definitely. Like my idea is just finishing the roadmap today, and on Monday we can all get together and build a presentation.
Great. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And I think Deepan in the chat had a question. Does someone want to answer, or I can answer
Uh,
if
sure, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll read it.
Martin
Oh,
is
sorry, Martin.
Martin is a
we,
fortress expert.
well, I don't know if anyone wants to add more comments, but yeah. So basically, yes, what he was asking, yeah, the answer is yes, that like the fourth choice is to choose what is the head of the chain, depending on the information we have. It can change dynamically as we get more information from the P2P network. But yeah, if there's a whole chapter in the ETH2 book, which is really interesting. It goes very deep, but yeah, if you want to know more details, that's a good place to do some reading.
Yeah, there's two interesting parts. One is the one that I think Martin joined in the chat, which is the fork, like the annotated specs part, and there's also like a more superficial, higher level take, which is in the Ghost chapter, which is just explains how the Ghost algorithm for fork choice works, and that's a pretty good one because it's like a very high level, very understandable way of seeing how Ethereum says, okay, this is the head, this is the one that has the more attestations, but and it goes down the tree in a greedy way, and yeah, that I highly recommend that chapter in particular. But yeah, the annotated specs, which are the part 3 of the book, are also exemplary good because they go more in depth. So I recommend both of those.
Also, do we want to choose a name for the consensus client?
I wouldn't focus on that right now, but we might do that further along the way. Like if we actually like get this into production and want to change the name at that stage, we may. But for now, I would just go with like Elixir Ethereum Consensus, like for the APF, and for us it's just Lambda Ethereum Consensus. But eventually we can choose a new one. But yeah, well, if there's nothing else, we can close the meeting for today, and then yeah, see you all on Monday, and we can gather to do the presentation together for the EPF.
That's good. See you guys.
See you guys. Have a nice weekend. If we don't see each other.
Nice weekend.
See ya.
Yeah.